When we moved here in 2011 to the US, it was really cool to be able to see all of us back together. And yeah, just growing up in a family after my mom passed away, it just kind of went downhill from there. And my two older siblings were already here in the US trying to get us to move here. And so finally the opportunity came in 2011 and we all came. I mean, when I look at family, there's always that one person that gonna hold it together.
Mm-hmm.
And for our family, it was her. And so when she was gone, it left that hole in the family. Growing up, the dream is everything that I'm experiencing right now in the US, that was never a part of the dream. The part of the dream was to get food on the table, right? If I could get to eat on just one meal a day, that's the dream. And so when people ask me about the dream about here in America, and I'm like, I don't even know, because getting on the plane, that is unrealistic. That's thing you see on the movies, that it's just not real, When I was in hair school, the skills ended up fall into just the plate, because I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the process of everything, and I was enjoying more being there, not because of the cutting hair aspect, but the different people I was sitting in. And eventually it just figured out. I don't even know. I mean, it's hard to explain, but one day it just clicked. I just never thought that the skills was there, but I just know that whoever comes in my chair, whether the haircut is good or not, we're gonna get along. We're talking about 2019. So 2019, I opened up in October, the week of Halloween. We opened October, November, December. January hit, COVID hit, all three of them left. And I'm back in there by myself. And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
And so we contact our landlord, and she's like, no, you still have to pay the rent. And I had no choice. I was like, okay, cool. So from January all the way to July, I was there holding it down by myself. And that was a good defining moment, because I was back at it again, and here I am by myself. And it was a tough times. I went from myself, I raised my price. I went from $45 to $100 to $250 to $250 to $400. And so now I charge range from $400 to $800, just depending on who I'm really, really cutting. But I was booked out for almost 2 years.
Congratulations on baby Amelia.
Thank you.
Congratulations. The reason why I want to touch on that, obviously Father's Day is approaching soon. What has been the biggest blessing you have gained from being a father?
Oh man. I think the biggest blessing for me, I have an opportunity to...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Code to Winning. Insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. Today we have a real treat, an amazing guest. I'm going to give you a brief introduction of who we have in the studio today. He goes by the name of Nafe Latu, not Nafe, Nafe Latu. Again, I love immigrant stories that are pursuing the American dream. I love entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs that are super inspiring in their journey of how you can overcome the obstacles that you're facing today to become and reach your full potential as well. So after moving to the United States in 2011, he built a thriving career in the barbering industry. Fresh fadeaway barber in Utah County. In about 2024, he sold that barbershop to focus on new adventures, which we're going to touch on today in our episode. As the co-founder of Beauty University and also the Unbroken Community, Nafe dedicated to helping others grow personally and also professionally. He also co-hosts Rules Don't Apply show and is also known for his community impact, including organizing major relief efforts from Tonga. And so, like I said, we're going to be sharing all these stuff. An amazing entrepreneur. If you want to be able to try and overcome the challenges, if you want to reach your full potential, if you want to learn about how you can pursue that American dream as well, this is the episode for you. So without further ado, our amazing guest, Nafe Latu.
Thank you.
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing amazing. How are yourself?
Not too bad. That was a Patrick Bet-David introduction, don't you think? So.
No, that was probably the coolest. I just did a podcast last week, and they gave me a long introduction, but I was like, this is the longest one. You repeat it.
You're like, keep it coming.
Yeah, to keep it coming.
I was like, yeah, man. Have you ever seen whenever Trump gets compliments, he's just like, keep going. So I was like, awesome stuff, my brother. Thank you so much for coming to the studio,
my
man.
pleasure.
I don't know how I'm gonna compile everything in like 1 hour, but my gosh, man, I want to just kind of figure out your journey. If you could take us back to, the kid in Tonga before you come in, can you just give us a brief introduction of your life story?
Yeah, I was born into a family. There's 8 of us kids, 5 boys, 3 girls. I'm number 6, and my little sister, she was only 3 month old when my mom passed away. And when she passed, she only, like, one of her wishes was, she told my older siblings, like, you cannot adopt the kids, like, you cannot separate them. We have to keep all of them together. So that's just been, it was cool. They're gonna keep us all together. So when we moved here in 2011 to the US, it was really cool to be able to see all of us, like, back together. And yeah, just growing up in the family, after my mom passed away, things just kind of went downhill from there. And my two older siblings were already here in the US trying to, like, get us to move here. And so finally the opportunity came in 2011, and we all came. But there's just so much happened during that time of, like, 2004 to 2011. It's just, I mean, I have all the time in the world to, just talk about, like, what happened between then, because that could be a really, really cool movie to make, of, like, what happened in between. Because when my mom passed away, I mean, when I look at family, there's always that one person that gonna hold it together. And for our family, it was her. And so when she was gone, it left that hole in the family. And I ended up, like, when I did my whole tattoo on my arm, I did that whole piece. And the piece, like, just represent, like, we love to weave mats. Back in Ireland, and mats, it represent, like, a lot of different things, right? Because there's different level of, like, mats. And they can make them for, like, the cheapest until, like, some good ones that they're so expensive. And there's a Tongan saying, it's like, when those mats, like, when they're ripped or, like, damaged, you can fix it, right? You can weave them back together, but it won't look the same anymore. And so there's a hole here, and that's where I put my mom's name on it. When she passed away, they have a whole date in there. And it's just a reminder, is like, it's just never the same, like, I move on living my life right now, and there's always that hole. There's just that hole, and it's just trying to refill it. And it's been amazing. I mean, growing up, the dream is everything that I'm experiencing right now in the US, that was never a part of the dream. The part of the dream was to get food on the table, right? If I could get to eat on, like, just one meal a day, that's the dream. And so when people ask me about the dream about here in America, and I'm like, I don't even know, because getting on the plane, that is unrealistic. That's thing you see on the movies, that it's just not real, So I'm, like, grateful. The whole journey is like, I'm just grateful for all the things that I'm, like, experiencing right now, and it's been, like, a really, really cool journey.
No, I'm grateful for you sharing that. And one of the things I do know as well about, like, Tongan, Samoan culture, I do know that, like, family is such an important social unit. Whether or not you're part of the gospel, like, family, they're just family orientated, and mothers are usually, like, the centerpiece of that, because of just, they just hold the family together. And I can't imagine, like, the pain that you may face, because I'll be honest, to this day, I'm still a mama's boy, and, like, I'll FaceTime my mom, and and if she doesn't answer, I'm like, what are you doing besides being my mother? Like, FaceTime me back. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm grateful for you mentioning that. And do you know, how did she pass away, if you don't mind me asking?
It was, like, a unknown, like, illness. I mean, right now it's like, I think everything just play a huge, like, factor when I look at, like, her whole pregnancy and stuff. Like, and I mean, when my wife, like, have all our kids, seeing her going through the pregnancy and being at the hospital, see all the process, I'm asking myself, is like, how the freak did my mom, like, give birth in Tonga, knowing what the hospital, like, condition is like over there? Like, how the freak did she make it? And for me, there's always, like, a part of it where I don't think she was able to recover. I don't think she recovered well from when she have my younger sister. Like, yeah. So it's just, like, people will say, I mean, my older sibling will say it's like pneumonia. Like, so it's the unknown. Like, I mean, I think that the death in the island, you just never know. When they get sick, you would never find the right answer to know, like, that's exactly why they passed away. It's not like in America, you do a bunch of tests and you're like, that's why
Yeah, they take
know.
your blood test, and
Yeah.
they'll do blood tests for like 5 different stuff,
Exactly.
from illnesses and like trying to figure out like what's in your blood and
Yeah.
stuff like that, sickle cell, with hepatitis, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
because of technology as well,
Yeah.
So
So I would just tell people, it's like, yeah, she sick, never recover, and yeah, passed away.
sorry to your condolences, boss, condolences. And as well, one thing I do know is how you've overcome a lot of the challenges that you faced. Was there a period in time where you were ever homeless? I think I read about that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I it was like by decision. Like I left my house, like
Was that in the US or in Tonga?
back home in Ireland. You know, like when my mom passed away, our house was. I mean, I grew up in like our house like turned real quick because my dad moved here already. You know, we're left with an older brother, and I think he was like 18 at the time, and he was the one who watched over us.
Wow.
And so it was him, and I have another older brother, and then me, another little brother, and a younger sister. And so our house just turned into like, that's where kind of like the party, house. I grew up, like a part of my childhood is like growing like weed, and you know what I mean? Like our house was where all the drunk people hang out, and it just, the drugs, like, alcohol, everything. That's where I like grew up. And it get to a time that when I look at the island, there's poor people and there's us. It's something that I was never proud of. But I still didn't know that was, it was something. I mean, when I look back at it right now, and I'm like, dang, like I'm very, very grateful that I grew up in that environment. It's just like the learning aspect of it. But it get to a time when I was like over there, I was just embarrassed. Just embarrassed of being there in my house. So I left. And like moved from one house to another and just trying to find something. And finally, and end up like going to the same high school as my older brother. And what changes it for me to like come home was we were in the school together. Mm-hmm. And the home that I live in, they have meal. They got the basics down, right? They might not be like the wealthiest people, but they got the basics down. Like I know when I come home, I'm gonna eat something. Like I know that the mom of that home will be washing my clothes and all that stuff. And so I remember going into high school and seeing my older brother, and they were like a group. They were just almost like making fun of how he was looking. And it just hurt me because I was like, that's my older brother,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't even know. They don't know he's my brother, and so that was like a wake-up call for me. And I was like, you know what? I'm going home. Like all this stuff is cool, but that's the real me. They're making fun of the real me. I need to go home. And so I redirected. I mean, after like almost like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
I decided I was going to go home.
And then what was I love the fact, 'cause sometimes people don't understand like a paradigm shift. It's also a big part of it is your surrounding and your upbringing. So the last thing you think about, like when you're in certain circumstances, is not Lamborghinis and fancy stuff. It's literally survival mode. You know what I'm saying? Because when you end up arriving, because I also remember like my entire goal was to come to the, because I studied financial economics, but was to graduate and go to Wall Street. So I did an internship, 2 internships in New York before I decided like I don't want to like go that path as well. But like the nice thing about being in this environment is that you naturally end up adapting according to what you're. Then you start realizing, hang on, there's so much more to life than so and so. Like uplifting, inspiring, at the same time living your full potential. When did that mindset shift for you from survival to like literally like you reaching your full potential?
I think the day that I moved here to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I share that, because when just being back home in Ireland, I remember my dad telling us about buffets and how buffet works here in the U.S. And I remember it's like sitting there and I'm listening to him and I was like, there is no way. There's no way that you pay like $12 and it's all you can eat. And so when I landed here in the U.S., the very first day we went straight to a buffet.
Golden Corral, which one was it?
I think it was like an Asian buffet in by San Francisco. And I remember walking in there, and for the first time that I see that there's actually enough food.
Wow.
And so that has been always my like the thing. And then living with my older brother in California, I remember at one point, because we were just constantly eating, You know, we're constantly like just destroying food. He had to double down his grocery. Probably had to go to the grocery store like 3 more times now a week, you know, instead of doing like monthly groceries. And so he said at one point, he says like, hey, like you can slow down eating. The food is not going anywhere, you know? And that was like for the first time that I sit there and I was like, you're right. Like it's not going, it's going to be here tomorrow, you know, because back home in the island, it's like when I'm eating, it's about how fast you eat, right? And when it's hot, like you have to eat so fast, and that's it. How much food you're getting, it's based on how fast you eat, right? And so for here it was different because I was like, dang, it don't matter if I eat fast, the food is just keeping coming. It's just non-stopping. And so I was like, I can actually slow down, you know? I can actually sit here and enjoy my food. Because no one else is going to take it from me, you know, like no one else is going to join and, you know, get the food. And I think that was like slowly like the shift, but it hasn't clicked yet. You know, it was later on being aware of like, that's actually like, that's what happened. That's what's going on. And realizing that here in the US, man, they have everything. I got gloves. I remember going to Walmart and I'm like, oh, holy crap. There's like shirts. It's like $5 for 3 of them. I'm like, like, let's go, you know, I'm like loaded up. And so I think that was for the first time experiencing the world of like abundant, you know, then realizing it's like, dang, like it is, like it's possible. All this stuff is like the thing you see in a movie, it's legit, you know.
That's powerful. But then when did you save money to fly to the United States, or what was that process like in 2011 for you?
You know, I have no idea. All I know, my dad landed, said that we're backing up. We're leaving like, I think it was like 2 days later. And we flew from there, from Tonga to Fiji. And we had to go through the U.S. Embassy there in Fiji. And out of all the siblings, I was the one that had like the okay English. For some reason, just like I'm not be able to understand it, but kind of like be able to speak it. But I somehow understand some of the words. And so we went over there and I was the one who do the interview. They're asking us is like going to U.S. And I remember what the questions and what the answer was like, but I remember we walked out and we were like, all right, we're flying to the U.S. So, I mean, that whole process, I don't even really know how the process worked. All I know that we flew from Tonga to Fiji, drove 3 hours. That was the longest drive of my life. And I remember being in that vehicle. I'm like, what the freak are we gonna get to that place? And I'm realizing how small Tonga is. Because you go from one island to the other, like from the end of the island to the other, it's probably like 45 minutes, an hour.
Wow.
It's just so small. But to be able to go 3 hours, I'm like, no way. And my dad is like, no, wait until you go to America. And I got here, drove from California here to Utah, and I was like, I thought I was going to die. You know, like this is long, you know.
14 hours,
yeah, this is
depending
14
on
hours.
what it is, yeah.
But that's kind of like how, like the process. And then we went from Fiji to LA. Got clear in through the custom there, and then from LA to San Francisco.
Awesome. Now, I love the Bay Area. Like I told you, I lived there for a while. I felt culturally it's so amazing. And it's also like it's got like a nice cold front, you know, the Bay Area, because just like, besides downtown where people can randomly just take a turd and crap in front of you.
yeah.
Apart from that.
It's
no, Bay Area is amazing. Now, one of the things that I would say was the beginning for you was the barbering, because it was not just like the skill set that you may have gained, but it was also the connection that was built before end up like selling it to pursue other business ventures. Can you also walk us through the process? When did you realize you had the skill, and when did you start?
Well, my wife just told me that I needed to go barber school, and we argue, and because it was so much money to pay to go into school, and I was like, man, like, we don't have that kind of money to do it. I didn't even know that there's like FAFSA and all those stuff that make it possible for me to go to school. So we argue about it, and it was not until like I really have a tough day at work, and finally I was like, all right, I have nothing to lose now. I might as well just take up on it. So she enrolled me in hair school. I ended up applying for a job at Delta. I got the job, and the first day that I was supposed to start is the same day that I was supposed to start hair school, and I was like, screw it, I'm going all in, and I'm going to do hair school. But I went into hair school. The skills wasn't there, but I remember the very first day that I went there, I met the owner of the school. It was a simple question, and I just asked him what's possible. And I just told him, I was like, is it like you telling me that if I can go in and I can do this right, I can literally like build almost like anything.
So you didn't know how to barber before then? You learned how to barber from...
No, I just learned how to barber during school.
Wow.
Because when I went in there with a focus. So I wanted to study business because I went to school for criminal justice.
Okay.
And I wanted to be like in the FBI or something. And then I'm realizing, I was like, dang, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get a degree and I still have to like get in shape and go now. I was like, no, that's too much work. That stuff is like, it would have been fun when I moved here from Tonga, bro. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
You're like, I like my buffet. Thank you very much for the offer.
Buffet, right? So we made the adjustment and I wanted to go into to school and just learn business. And I was afraid of going into like study about business in school because it's going to take me another 2 years. And I was like, frick, and in 2 years and I'm going to readjust again and I have to like study a different thing. So what we decided to do, that I'm going to go in there 6 months. I'm going to learn the business side of cutting hair. So that's what I did. I went in there, met the owner, asked the question that I needed. And he pretty much like kind of unfold what's possible for me in the hair industry. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to do that. And so when I was in hair school, the skills ended up like fall into like just the plate because I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the process of how everything. And I was enjoying more being there, not because of the cutting hair aspect, but like the different people I was sitting in. And eventually it just figured out. Like, I don't even know. I mean, it's hard to explain, but one day it just clicked. Like I just never thought that the skills was there, but I just know that whoever comes in my chair, whether the haircut is good or not, we're going to get along, it's going to be a good time. And so that was kind of like the whole focus on being there and how the cutting hair come up to be.
Awesome. And so when you started the business, did you, because I realized there's so much components that go into cutting hair, because you can get like a few chairs, then you can rent out to other barbers, or you can end up like doing it by yourself and then getting other people that are on commission or like a fixed. What was the business model that you had for yourself and how did it become successful?
It's funny, it's like how we find the spot that we're at. We're actually, like, me and my wife we went to the movie, and at the end of the movie it was already like 1 a.m. when we're done and we're on our way. And we usually like there's this road that we always take to go to our house, and instead we're like, I'm telling her, I was like, no, we're taking this road. And she's like, oh, this is downtown Pleasant Grove. And when we're coming down that road, and she's like, there's a salon that's there. Like, let's stop by and see it and see how the setup inside, and maybe we'll have a better idea on how we're gonna open our shop. And we literally, like, I was like peeking in, and where I was like looking in, there was like a sign, because they tinted the window because of the sun, right? And so where I was like looking in, there was a sign that says like for rent. And I was like, no way. So we literally called them. That was a Saturday morning at 1 a.m. And we woke up, we called them at like 9, and we signed the contract at 11. No, there's no business model, nothing.
I love
like
it.
Literally like nothing. And it was just a credit card that my wife had. So we maxed out all her credit cards to open the shop. But I just know that I had it in me. I don't know. There was no like really confirmation. I was so confident that I was like, I can figure this out. Like, I don't know. I just have it in me. It's just one of those stories that I was like telling people, and they're like, it does not make sense. I was like, yeah, it did not make sense. Now looking back at it, I was like, what the frick? That's what we did. But that's literally what we did.
And so when you started, did you do it by yourself, or did you end up having other barbers?
Yeah, so when we opened it, we have 4 chairs in there. I end up hiring 3 people that they were my students.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2019. So 2019, I opened up in
COVID.
October, the week of Halloween. We opened October, November, December. January hit, COVID hit, all 3 of them left. And I'm back in there by myself. And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
And so we contact our landlord, and she's like, no, like, you still have to pay the rent. And I had no choice. I was like, okay, cool. So from January all the way to July, I was there holding it down by myself. And that was like a good defining moment, because I was back at it again, and here I am by myself. And it was a really, really, it was a tough times. because I end up falling into like, oh, it's COVID, I'm not supposed to work and stuff. But what like got me going was like the fact that my wife would wake up in the morning. Like she did it for a week, right? I did the quarantine crap and laying there in bed, and my wife is getting ready and she's going to work. And so for me, it was like, I remember when I asked my father-in-law that, I was like, I'm going to take care of her, right? And he said to me, he was like, I remember we talked, because I have nothing, like when I asked my father-in-law for his blessing, like no job, no money, no driver license, nothing. There's literally zero thing to my name. Mm-hmm. The only thing I have was my potential. That was it. But I didn't see it. They probably saw it. I don't even know, And so I remember that was the one morning, early morning, that I woke up and I'm like seeing my wife getting ready to go to work. And I'm asking myself, like, who the freak am I? Right? Like, to lay in bed, watch my wife go out to work. I'm supposed to be the one that get out there, go out to work. And so that's when everything changes. I was like, what I'm going to get here by myself all the way to however long, I'm going to do it. And so from there, held it down and just during that process where I'm like figure out. And by the moment that I, like 6 months in, I'm still going, I was like, it somehow it's working on the most difficult time of like, probably ever. And I was like, I'm over here and I'm grinding it out and I'm figuring something out. And it was just, and then I end up like finding people along the way, finding the right people. Like I have one of my good barber, very good friend. His name is Sam. I remember he coming in, he joined the team. And it was just cool to be able to see just the culture of it just growing. It just keep on growing because during those moments, I figure out what not to do, what's not working, what's working now, and we just adjust as we go.
And I think every time I keep hearing like these stories, there's always one defining moment in every single entrepreneur and serial entrepreneur story, and it's usually the time when you're all alone and you realize no one else is going to save you but you. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that was the moment where everything just started like a reality check. Like, listen, you're on your own and you have to be able to rely on yourself because that's the best person you can rely on at the end of the day. And I feel like that transition kind of like added value to the person that you are today because everything just went kind of upward trajectory, right? How long was the barbershop before you ended up selling it?
It was there from 2019 and I sold it in last year.
Okay. So 5 years.
5 years.
And how much was like turnaround and revenue for it? Like,
oh, dude, like we pull off like I think one of our best year. We surpassed like I think at 1 year we did about like 600,000 or 700,000.
Wow!
Just a barbershop, and we have both of the shop. I mean, from my cutting hair, I went from like myself. I raised my price. I went from $45 to 100 to 250 to 250 to $400, and so now I charge like range from $400 to $800, just depending on who I'm like really cutting. But I was like booked out for like almost like 2 years that I had to like fitting in people. I was like, no, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I love it. Yeah. And every time I hear these stories, because there's something that they say there's two things that our men are going to be loyal to. It's their sports team and their barber.
Yeah.
Those are two guaranteed, Of course, they're going to be loyal to many other stuff, but those are the most two guaranteed because of the relationship you end up building, because of the natural, almost like psychologist or therapist that a barber becomes, because of the fact that you end up feeling like you can open up and be yourself, and also just the genuine conversations that are there. Because I feel like sometimes the best barbers are the ones that can actually build a connection with their clients and understand that. When you were raising those prices, were you targeting specific people? Like, were you doing like professional athletes and celebrities and stuff like that?
Some of them like professional athletes. And I mean, I always like tell people when they ask me about like catering for professional athletes and stuff, is like, I just treat everyone as like the same. Like for me, when I go in and I'm cutting like any like famous people or anything like that, for them it's just for me the same. If I end up like having to do a favor for them, I think it was like Alex and Mosey. He talked about like if you want to do a favor for someone, you have to do it with like a favor with capital F, right? You want to provide like as much value as you can. Right, you don't want to just do the minimum of like, oh, I cut your hair, but I line you up for free. It's like, no, here's a full haircut. It's yours, is good. But if we're going back and we're talking about like raising the price, I didn't raise my price. My client raised my price. like I have a good friend that he owned a bunch of business, and I remember he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I need to get in," and I'm like, "Dude, my schedule is pretty slammed, but I can fit you in on these days." And he texted me. He was like, "No, you're gonna need to raise your price. I don't like waiting. I need to get in when I want to fit in." And so that's it. And most of the prices where I raise it up to, it was for anybody new trying to get into my schedule, because the people that I already have, they're already paying me that price. I remember when I sit there and people were like, "Oh, nobody's paying you that." It's like, no, like I'm raising up my pricing right now for anyone new that I'm taking on. The rest of the people that I already have, they already pay me that price. So for me, it was just, whether you're gonna jump in and be a part of like the schedule or not, I already have the people that pay for it. So I'm good, like so far with it, it's like, I'm good. But most of my clients, they're all professional athletes. A lot of them, they're all like high end, super successful entrepreneurs, and they just fell in. I don't even know. I mean, I was like, tell people when it comes down to networking too, it's like, I just have this energy, and every single places wherever I go, where those people, they're higher than me in like ranking or status or anything like that. I always like tell people, it's like, I don't ever get like intimidated by going to those rooms, because people have no idea what I've been through, you know. So if they know, they probably gonna be intimidated by me, And so I just fit it right into it. But as far as like pricing goes, I just have those clients earlier on. And so when those people didn't want it to wait, they're like, no, the prices go on. And I have the receipts. I keep all the receipts of people asking that. It's like, no, we're going back up. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to do that. Because what I found with all those people, it's like time means more than anything to them. And so if I can save them sometimes, like that's it. And so those people don't like to wait. And I end up adjusting my whole business model when I meet some of the professional athletes. It's like, if they message you on that time, you have to be available that time. And for me, the only way to do it was to bring up the price. And if I can do that one haircut, that saved me. Then, I mean, when I get paid on that one haircut, if you compare it to just a regular barber, that's like probably like 50 haircut that you have to do. Because before, in the beginning of my journey, I used to brag about how slammed my schedule is. And I was like, you're telling me that I can do 2 haircuts? And that's like 2 days worth of like haircutting that I need to do? I'm like, oh, please, like, I'll do that. I'll do that one haircut, They would save me some time to stay at home and do what I needed to do. But yeah, that's just kind of how it came to be.
I love that. The reason why I like that is that you start realizing the value you have, because of it's not just the schedule, but the fact that people are willing to say, listen, I want to be fit in, because time is money at the end of the day. And you end up getting a skill set that was valued by clients. So they raise the price, but not you. The reason I like that is I started seeing, because right now I'm my YouTube, I was very, and I still am, in how I was getting certain guests that all have different stories. And at the end of the day, I just started seeing the trajectory and how like it was just like, it was monetized after. I did Andy Elliott, Keaton Hoskins, the first 2, then it was already monetized because of the watch hours there. And then as you can see with you as well, and the people I've been getting, I start realizing, hang on, like I'm at the point where I have project 100K subs. And it's like, what am I willing to do to try and get there? I have to start spending more in ad spends. I have to start spending more with like my edits. I have to start spending more by quality time, getting the right people, getting the right conversation. Because at the end of the day, like I'm like, I know I'm at that like a 30K kind of subs, but like I'm like, look at the people I'm getting on the studio. I should be on 1 million. You know what I'm saying? And so like I value myself that much more. But like, what am I willing to do? I'm gonna try and add a bit more value. I'm gonna try and get more edits. I'm gonna try and get more content. I'm gonna try and do performance max campaigns. I'm gonna get them in all forms of social media. And then when you start realizing the potential, because you start like visualizing it, then you start seeing it. Then when you start seeing it, you actually start doing it, So that's one of the things I learned about you, which kind of segues to networking. How important has networking been for you, considering how big your network is right now?
If people ask me like how I did it, it's always connections for me. The key for my life, the key for any success that I have is it's connections. At the end of the day, I can pull up my phone right now and it's going to take me one phone call, right? If I have to go restart all over again, it will be one phone call away. It will be like a simple text message to someone. Someone probably hold it all together for me. And when it comes down to networking, it's like I don't take it lightly when it comes down to network. But I also like I have no expectation when I go into networking. And for me, something that really, really helped me too when it comes down to networking is like just like I don't like it's giving without keeping the score. And I'm constantly just giving. When I'm going into networking, it's like I realize really quick that you find more friends when you show interest in other people's stuff than you trying to drag them to become interested in your stuff. And so when I go into networking event, it's never about me. It's never about who I know and all the cool people that I'm around with. It's like it's about you. You know, I'm gonna go in there and I'm so invested of like listening to you, just asking. And it's a simple like, how are you doing? You know, and I might do some research on some of the people that I do that I like. That I know for sure they're going to be there, and the conversation is about them. It's what they're building. You know, I remember I went up to an event in Southern Utah, and I met Patrick Manning, and he's with Black Desert. You know, I remember like being in the same room with him, and when I had the conversation, I was talking to him about Black Desert because I did a tour there, about every single details that they put onto that golf course and the resorts. And, you know, it was like a very, very short like amount of time that we chat and we part ways. And I did a post. I took a picture with him. I did a post about it. And I was just very grateful for the opportunity to be able to meet him for the first time. And I didn't. I mean, we were a friend on Facebook. But for somehow, he found the post on Facebook and he did a comment. He wrote a comment and he was just saying, it's like, oh, it was good to meet you. And he's like, I've been telling people that you're one of my contact of the year.
Wow.
And I'm like sitting there reading it. And I'm like, I sent it to my group, me and my business partner. And I was like, what the frick? It just happened, you know? And I didn't know that he ended up calling another friend of mine. And when I met the friend, he actually giving the speech, and when he was giving the speech, he was talking about how I met Patrick because Patrick called him and told him, it's like, look, do you know this guy Nafe? And he's like, oh yeah, I know him. He's like, I don't think he know what the freak he's doing, but I like him. I like him a lot, you know. And I was like, that was it. That was the perfect way to describe me. I may not know what a freak I'm doing in any single business that I'm doing, but you're gonna like me. You're going to like what I'm doing, and I'm not, you know, quitting. That's not even a part of my vocabulary. I'm going to figure it out. And so I just share that story because that's what networking does for me.
I love that, man. And I noticed, which is the reason why it kind of segues perfectly there, because as much as people focus a lot on like your network is your network, which is true, I like the fact that you touched on just building meaningful connections without expecting anything in return, but in essence looking for the fact of trying to learn something from somebody, because everyone's got their own story. It doesn't have to be a fancy story of how they became something, but it could even be just overcoming the trauma as well, which is perfect to what I want to go into about the Unbroken community. Like, I think that's how I reached out to you as well first. I loved that it targets people that want to try and reach their full potential, because somewhere or another we've all faced something, a minor setback, it may be a trauma from a young age or something. But what's Unbroken community for you?
Unbroken for me, it's simply one of my beliefs that through thick and thin I'll always find a learning. And what I share about that is that you can put me in any situation, I promise you that I'll figure out why I'm in the situation. Even stuck in traffic, I sit there and I'm like thinking, I was like, and I came to realize that I'm constantly living in a world of maybe. That maybe the reason why I'm stuck on this traffic because the person in front of me or the person that cut me off or the person is causing this traffic is probably in the rushing someone in their family to the hospital or something. So in my head it's like, okay, then I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy being here on traffic. Or maybe the reason why I'm on traffic right now is to be able to give someone a call, someone that's been on my mind or call, or maybe a podcast that I've been telling whoever it is that I'm going to be listening to the podcast, or like a commitment that and so for me, that's what the word unbroken is it's finding the learning. in whatever the situation, and that's how I built it together.
And so when did you start this community?
I started it back in 2021.
And is it connected to like your Black
Desert Resort?
Yeah, Black Desert Resort. Or was it
No,
different?
not necessarily. Like that was like one of my first things that I started because when I blew up in the hair industry, because I've done like a bunch of different events in the hair industry, I'm realizing that a person like me can create anything. And so I'm simply sitting there asking myself, is like, how many people like me, you know, dealing with like a death in the family or just some hardcore stuff or maybe drama, like how many people like me out there that all they have to do is just flip that switch and they can be on the savage mode and build crazy, amazing things. And so for me, like, I come down to that where I'm like, dang, I can really multiply myself, you know? And so that was the whole purpose. That's why I started the community, was bring in like-minded people that didn't think that they have it in them. And my goal is if I can just awaken them, like, you know, just give them the little tap on their shoulder of like, just open up, like, so they can see the possibility. This is literally what you can do with whatever you're dealing with right now. That maybe the struggle that you're going through right now was maybe the fact that you're like going through this financial hardship, and here you are, come out of it, was to be able to teach somebody how not to do it or teach someone else how to overcome it. And for me, that was like a huge part of my story because a part of my struggle was like I blame my mom on everything. You know, when I go in and but my mom was in the back of my head was like, I was willing to kill it in life because I know that someone else is to blame. So if I'm not doing well, it's always like, oh, you know, my mom is not here. You know, she wasn't there to raise me right. Like, and so all this like blame, all this blame has been, that's been like about like, you know, my mom not being there. When I'm realizing, I was like, there was a moment. And that moment was I got invited to an event that it was my first time ever going into a freaking networking event, and it was like a retreat, and it was in Tennessee. And I went over there, and it was for roofers. I remember asking the guy who hosted, was like, why the freak did you invite me here? There's 29 roofers here. I'm the only barber that's sitting here in this room. What the freak am I doing? I'm not going to open a roofing company. Like, what am I doing? And my dude was just like, no. Just like I saw something. I don't know what it is, but I believe that you're supposed to be in this room. And he ended up like walking me through where the first time that I get to really, really face my mom's funeral. And that was huge. That was huge for me. It was for the first time that I get to grieve, that I finally can let go, and I finally can cry, you know, that my mom really did pass away. And on that defining moment, that I'm realizing is like, wait a minute. In the moment of me like crying and just like, you know, just going through all the crap, and there was a moment that I realizing I was like, dang, my mom was the first entrepreneur in my family, and guess who the second one is? I am. Out of all the 8 kids, I'm the one actually like stepping in. So I was like, wait, if my mom actually like leave a legacy, it's like I am my mom's legacy. I'm doing every single thing she was doing. You know, she'd make food and stuff, like sell it at the local like high school. I'm no difference. I'm creating a product right now and I'm selling the product. It's the same thing that she did. And so maybe the reason why my mother passed away was to give me an opportunity to step up, an opportunity to shine. And that was it. I lock in that belief that maybe that's the reason why she passed on pretty early on, was to give me an opportunity to step up. And in that moment, I was like, there's literally nobody's going to stopping me from this, you know? And so from that healing moment of going through that, where I was like, that's it. Like, everything just started making sense. I'm like very patient with myself. And I was committed myself to be a better person, you know, to just step up in every single way. I had my kid already, you know, my son, and I was like, you know what, like, I'm gonna be the best parent. I know that there's the saying of like every single parents out there that they just want the best and they want their kids to have more than they ever have. You know, for me that was my mindset. But now it changes, it shifts. I want my kid to be more than I ever be. Mm. You know, I want my kid like to constantly like healing from stuff that the struggle that he's going through right now will be way different from my struggle. But I want him to know that it's okay. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to go ask for help. It's okay to like feel his emotions, like all those stuff that I was taught not to, like that's not okay. It's like, no, you're good. You're good. Oh, your vulnerability is safe with me, and we can talk about this all day. And it's been really cool. But
that's, man, I wish there was a mic drop for that. That was amazing. No, I appreciate that. The reason why I like it so much, I've also experienced grief, but how grief works, like that people don't understand if they haven't like experienced it, is that grief comes in waves. So sometimes when a tragic event has happened or something, a loss of a loved one thing what you don't realize is that it comes to different people in different stages as well. Yeah. So it might not really occur at that point in time because there could be a state of denial that you might be facing. And then like it could be a few months along the line or a year that you're like, what the heck just happened? Or like what you know what I'm saying? And then it starts hitting you. And then as it starts hitting you, you have to face it face value, because that's how the healing process works. Like, and the beautiful thing about like the Unbroken that you spoke about, a community of uplifting each other, but also understanding that there's a time to play for you to be vulnerable and acknowledge what has happened. But like everything you just mentioned is there's steps to that kind of stuff. But the other thing I do like about grief is that it also provides agency and a choice for you to be able to take accountability for the fact that you can either sink like quicksand, or you can use this as an opportunity for you to learn, grow, and understand that Heavenly Father has got a path for you to be able to understand the situation that you've been through. Thanks for sharing that, my brother. How the hell are we going to, this is like, I have like, can we stay for 3-4 more hours? Is that okay?
Anytime.
He's like, I got to go golf right now.
That's usually how long I go golf for. So we're good.
Man, I want to know, so the retreats and stuff. So, I like that pops up a lot on my Instagram, and I like the fact that you guys have built this community. How do people join in that? And is it like a networking golf retreat? Yeah. How does that work? I think it's so important for people to network.
Yeah, so definitely. So the Freedom Golf Retreat, it was an idea, because I mean I'd done like different retreats with the Unbroken. I'd done all over here in Utah, and ended up like expanded down to New Zealand. I did an event over there, and in the hair industry as well, I did the same thing with the hair industry. I feel offended.
Why have you not touched South Africa, bro? Like, are you slacking, brother? What the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah, there's just so many places where I'm like doing. So I've just been in that space for a long time, like just being in that space, hosting different events and all that stuff. And so, one of my business partner, Austin, we met at an event. It was funny. It was a personal development event. Like I walk in there and I was like I said, it's like I committed to being better. And I was like, you put me in every single room that you feel like that it's gonna make me better than I am yesterday, I'm in. I'm like invested in it. And so while we're on the event, that's where like we connected, we clicked. And one day he invited me to go golf. And I was so offended, and I'm like, why the freak would you invite me to go golf? Like, no. Don't even know, he's like very, I mean, he's family to me, and I've been like doing his hair for the past like few years. And, people think it's like, oh, is that how you got into golf? And I was like, no, that's not it. And so he invited me to go golf. My wife has been trying to get me to go golf like 2 years prior. And she's like, no, just go. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. My little brother, he's a good golfer. Been trying to get me to go in. No. And so finally, my friend Austin, his little brother, was moving out of Arizona. And so they were doing a little farewell round for him. And so that's why he invited me to go. And he's like, bro, it will mean a lot to him if you come. And I already pay your tea time, so you can bail. And I was like, frick. So, dude, I was like, I remember just sitting there and I was like, dude, this is probably the time where I'm going to bail. And I just didn't want to go, I just didn't want to go. But I told my wife, I finally like come to agreement. I was like, okay, I'll go. But when I went, before my wife Alex like dropped me off, she made me promise her that I'm going to put my phone down. I'm not gonna touch my phone. I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna be present. Like she specifically told me, it's like just go in there, be present with them. And because I was running, dude. Like my schedule was usually like up until 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, just working, just come up with ideas, building every single thing that built, and just that was my flow state, you know. And it was unhealthy, but I'm like, dude, that's where most of my ideas come from, right in the middle of the night. Like I'm over here doing this stuff, and so. But she promised me I'm gonna finally put my phone away and I'm gonna be present with those people, and that's what I did. And holy crap, I finished that round. And I was like, I'm screwed.
I found a new home.
Hooked. I'm hooked. Where have I been like all my life? And then we chat about it. He saw what I was already doing with events and stuff, and we started talking about like golf. Mm-hmm. And it was funny when we started talking about golf, we start like just bringing in like different ideas together. And so just having like clients that have been in like the PGA Tour, all of them just kind of like share the same experience of what it's like to be on a tour. The experience of walking into a room, you have all your stuff like set right there on your bed, you know, like just the VIP service and all that stuff. So we kind of like bring that whole service in. And then we're like, all the people that I've been like, you know, all the pro athletes, all the like celebrities, all the, you know, high-end entrepreneurs that I meet along the way, every single time like I'm with them, or when every single time we like part ways or leaving, they always like say, it's like, oh, let me know if you ever need anything. And in my head, I was like, that's it. If I can bring them all together, have fun, you know, and whoever's attending, they have an opportunity to be able to connect with my network, right? Like I just didn't want to like just let anyone else's in. I wanted to make sure that all those people coming in there, they're very genuine about, you know, those connections. And so we literally, and then like a week later, we're like, all right, we're pulling the trigger on this. And so we start announcing it. we announced the Freedom Golf Retreat, and we just send it. And we host our first one back in October. We have Manti Teo, my good friend Justin Prince was there. We have like a lot of like legit, like, you know, people coming in there, and it was like it's 5 days, and it's a luxury, all inclusive, exclusive golf retreat where you get to go golf, but then we have like networking opportunity there. We have like seminars. We do Q&A with some of the special guests. You have an opportunity to play with the special guest. But it is just like a whole legit like experience, and it's really cool.
And if you don't mind me asking, how much does it cost if somebody wants to join then? What if somebody sucks at golfing?
Oh, it's perfect, because most of the people, like our target audience is like, if you end up knowing how to play golf, it's awesome, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't know how to play golf, like myself, like I only stopped playing golf in like May, June, July, August, September, October. Like 5 months later, here I am like playing, and I just suck. Like I have so many videos of people taking me like horrible, but that was not the point of it. The point of it was to be able to connect. You know, when I go into every single retreat, there's always a vision. Our last retreat was to have fun. You know, like I always like set a vision very clear at the very first day when people get there. I always have a vision of where I want to direct the retreat to. And last time was to like have fun, you know, like have fun. And we ran up to an incident in one of the golf courses in Mesquite, and I got yelled at on the pro shop, and the dude was just pissed off. And it was funny because it was a cool teaching moment, because all my guys were there, you know, and the dude just went on it on me, and I just sit there, and I was very cool, very chill. And it's like a whole different part. I mean, if he would have done that like 3 years back, it would be a whole different story. But like he did it, and I was like, I'm good. I'm ready to pay. You're good. You know, I hope you're having an amazing day. And we move on. And it was like a cool like teaching moment. But just kind of like bring it back into it. Like we always have a vision. It don't matter. It's for any level of like people like playing golf. On our last one, we have so many people that was their first time playing golf, like first time ever swinging a club, and they were having the best time of their life, because it was not about how good you are at golf. It was for you to be able to connect, because golf for me, you can expose like that true identity about, like, you can tell a lot of like about a person when you go play golf.
And I think one thing I personally never really care about what I'm doing. I care about the right people in the room, and not even necessarily about the insights I'm going to gain from them, but also the meaningful connections and friendships you end up building with the people that could end up like adding value to your business and vice versa as well. Because at the end of the day, like the ship rises with the tide. And so like if you're in the right room, you're with the right people that help you get the right way. And what a privilege it is to still end up swinging, because you can get your frustrations out there for those teams that are letting you down, you know. I know we slightly started late, but I want to try and touch on two or three last questions. Congratulations on baby Amelia.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And the reason why I want to touch on that, obviously Father's Day is approaching soon. What has been the biggest blessing you have gained from being a father?
Oh, man. I think the biggest blessing for me, I have an opportunity to create an example out of my kids, of all the things that I learned, the thing that I heal from, and I think like I have an opportunity to be able to like teach my kids and raise them in a way that I always thought they will be very helpful, and also like the biggest blessing, I think the bigger blessing is it don't matter what I do, every single day I can hear my kids' voice. I can run into any situation where I'm about to like be so frustrated, and I can just hear my kid, especially my oldest one. My oldest one is like, when I'm like talking, the moment that my volume of my voice goes up, when I'm happy or I'm like frustrated, you're always gonna check on me and see if I'm okay. And he'll always like tell me, it's like, Dad, be nice, you know. And it's always gonna like cool for me as a father to know that that's what my kid is like, you know. That's our environment that he's like growing up and he's experiencing in, and to be able to hear my kid like, Master, like I am sorry, and it's just a whole different environment. It's just a whole different parenting of like how I was, you know, raised growing up. But I just know that whatever I'm doing, whatever adventures I'm on, whatever business I'm starting, I just know that on difficult times, I can count on my kids to pull me out of it.
Wow.
Like that's a light at the end of the tunnel for me. That I just know that I can literally just close my eyes and I can think about one of them. And I know for sure that just the thought of someone counting on me, it's like, it's there, you know, and I'll be all right. I'll find a way to be able to figure it out. So.
Wow, man. I don't even think I can ask the next two questions after that. They would end the interview right here and then, right? No, I love that, man. And I've seen how much you love your kids. I've seen the blessing it was. That's when I saw baby Amelia born just a few months ago. Like, I think that's when life begins, when you realize there's a bigger why than yourself, you know. Yeah. And I'm grateful for you sharing that, which kind of, you know, segues to our last and final question, the code to winning. You know, it's known for insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. I mean, after what you shared, in your definition, like, what does it mean to be winning?
I think winning for me is sleepless night, a lot of tough conversations. There's going to be a lot of like stumbling blocks, so uncomfortable. But above all of that, it's just worth it. And so I think it was like Tim Grover. He wrote a book about like winning, and he talked about it like winning is sprinting with no finish line, and I believe that that's kind of like where I'm on. I feel like that I'm constantly like just sprinting. There's no stopping, and I think at the end of my life is like whatever it is that I'm accomplishing and whatever it is that I'm doing and I'm currently working on, that will be the winning for me.
That's powerful, man. Now, I appreciate that. If you could let our viewers know where they could get a hold of you, if they want to jump in the Unbroken Community and like your golf retreats and like, you know, if any courses they want to try and learn, just let our viewers know where they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, I'm on all of the social media platforms, but I'm huge on Instagram. If you're trying to get a hold of me right away, email is always the best, so I can be able to see it. Or else most of the messages are buried on the DMs and all that stuff. We have with the Freedom Golf Retreat, we have one coming up in October. We'll be spending a couple of days at the PGA Tour.
Oh wow! So
that's one of our like, we're kind of like shifting some things on this one. So we're adding in the PGA Tour in there, and I think it would be cool to be able to have people.
And our prices online as well.
Yeah, the price is available online on our website. It's freedomgolfretreat.com. You can go in there and you can find all the informations in there. We do like different like tournaments, and most of our events are all invitation only. So if you want an invitation, just shoot me a DM and I'll personally invite you. But yeah, that's where people are at. Unbroken, same thing too. Like we have our page, it's UR Unbroken, and you can just find all the information out there. And yeah, and I do a bunch of different stuff, but like that's the two that we talked about here on this podcast. Awesome. So
no, I appreciate that. No, thank you so much. I will add everything in the description section, both on all our social media platform with all the websites as well. So if you're curious, find the links below for all the retreats and Unbroken and stuff like that. So the code to winning, Nafe Latu, insights you need today to seize the world tomorrow. This is the episode for you. Thank you very much, brother.
I appreciate it. You made me cry on this episode.